National Knowledge Commission was set up by Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh about 3 years ago to help build knowledge institutions and infrastructure that India would need in the 21st century. Essentially, we focus on 5 aspects of knowledge: access to knowledge, knowledge concepts, knowledge creation, knowledge applications, and knowledge-related services.
The Prime Minister had a brief for the Knowledge Commission, which says that the Knowledge Commission should explore areas where India should focus upon to be in the forefront amongst countries to make use of knowledge as a tool for social development and economic growth.
The economic and social transformation of India in the 21st century will depend in large part on knowledge. For it is only knowledge that can provide the foundations of an inclusive society. The essential object is to improve the well-being of people, ordinary people.
Often knowledge is basically seen simply in terms of education per se, whereas we wanted to extend it to enter all areas of how knowledge is created, how it's developed and disseminated, how people use it, how people access it. And that meant broadening the perception of what it is and how it affects individuals and society. I believe that what's important is first that we have raised a number of important issues in terms of agriculture, in terms of higher education, the use of science and technology, the access to knowledge through translation and libraries. The important thing is that it's got a debate going and that people are then discussing this and thinking about how to change these situations.
The methodology followed in all of them is the same. You first identify a subject, then you gather a group of stakeholders, which is fairly liberal, both by word of mouth and references from others and some obvious stakeholders from the government or NGOs and so on. And then we also constitute a working group with eminent people from this relevant area. And then we have a series of workshops. And then the working group comes out with a report, which is then vetted by the National Knowledge Commission, by the members of the NKC. And then the final report is usually prepared by the member in charge at the NKC. And then it is discussed in the members' meeting, and then there's a letter that goes out to the Prime Minister along with a detailed note on the relevant topic.
Some of our workshops were actually very lively and became, the one group I remember in Lucknow staged a walkout because they didn't like what another group was saying, and we had to run after them to persuade them to come back in. So we had all kinds of things going on, but it proved extremely useful because I think we got a sense of the basic problems in different areas.
As far as I'm concerned, I think I learnt more from the NKC than the NKC learnt from me. I was in fact struck by the fact that they were addressing such a wide variety of problems, and they had a very young staff who seemed to do a great deal of background work very much better than the many committees with which I've been associated.
First of all, I think the NKC was an extraordinarily brilliant idea. Also, it was a very diverse set of people. It was people from academia, people from industry, people from research. So I think that certainly gave me a worldview which I did not have before that, because I was able to interact with different people from different backgrounds and often with different ideologies. But I think the good news is that we all managed to come together and come out with what we think are solutions that expand access to Indians.
We are faced with 3 fundamental challenges in India. Disparity between rich and poor, urban, rural, educated and uneducated. Second major challenge is demography. We are a country with 550 million people who are below age of 25. What kind of future we will provide for our young generation? What kind of education, jobs, opportunities, growth? And the third is development. Everything is happening in India, but perhaps not at the pace we would like. So the key is to use knowledge to reduce disparity, provide better opportunity to young, and expedite the process of development.
India is entering its demographic dividend in the next 30 years. And not only is it entering a demographic dividend with 1 billion people, it is also the only country which is young in an aging world. Now, that gives a unique opportunity that no other country has. But to get the full yield of a demographic dividend, our human capital needs to be empowered. They need to be educated, they need to have good health, they need to have access to markets and jobs. So that's why we have to make sure we do all the right things which the Knowledge Commission has been recommending. And we have to keep pushing to make sure these reforms happen because we owe it to the young people of India.
We want to use this website to get people interested in what the NKC is doing, to get them to talk about what NKC is doing. They need not agree with everything we are saying. But there are issues that we have flagged and they might have their own take on it, they might have their own solutions on it, but fine, go ahead, implement it and share it with the rest of the country and then make things happen.
The whole idea of building a knowledge society is really an idea of empowering young men and women through education and also ensuring that all your delivery systems are built on a premise of the latest knowledge, and that in every sphere of human activity, a bit of an exaggeration, but almost in every sphere of human activity, you are able to use cutting-edge knowledge.
To me, a knowledge society would be one where every citizen has got equal capabilities to access and use knowledge productively. And that is a very long haul. That means we have to begin from the very beginning in terms of not just school education, but even nutrition that allows every citizen to access. But it therefore means you have to have a much more holistic perception of how knowledge affects you. It can come in many different ways. It doesn't have to come through the standard ways that we have been thinking of. And it has to actually improve people's capacities for lifelong learning.
We see many of the things happening because many people in the country want them to happen. NKC just happens to be a small organization commissioned by the Prime Minister, which possibly acts as the minor catalyst. In the 12th five-year plan, a huge and unprecedented amount of allocation has been made. A number of IITs have been announced, a number of higher institutes of science and technology have been announced. Many universities are being upgraded. I think change will happen. I think people who are not able to keep up with change will fall by the wayside, but people who want change will drive it.
As we are growing with 7 to 10% growth rate in our economy, we are already finding that we have severe skill shortages. And it is very critical to recognize that if we don't build the right kind of institutional infrastructure, we will not be able to sustain the kind of growth we have. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh recognized all of this and took this bold initiative to launch National Knowledge Commission. And we hope this in turn will give us a new sense of direction in the country to build the foundation that we need for the knowledge institutions and infrastructure in the 21st century.